Okay, I'm recording right now. So, Surf,
Oh, okay.
you encouraged
Hello,
me
you
to
too.
talk about this, and
Yes.
try to, I don't know, like systematize it. Um,
hmm
so you want to try to introduce the idea?
Sure. I think we should introduce it through the lens of Lou's tweet because that really got the ball rolling on this type of conversation. Lou had been observing within his own gameplay how, after making gains on static, other categories became easy for him. They felt very natural. And so, from that perspective, he began to investigate other players who perhaps started out as like static mains, like people like Bardas or Asnahu, really took static to its highest level, and then we're also able to make significant gains to other categories. Like if you look at Asnahu, he's about to be celestial. And then if you look at, of course, Bardos, he's Astro Complete. So that was kind of like the premise from Lou's perspective. Val, do you want to take it away with the other categories?
Yeah, well, this isn't anything new. Like my first aim coach was Skooky, who's like smoothness, like the forefather, right? He believed,
Mm,
you start with smoothness and static at the same time, and then you branch into other categories. And you believe it's like like you start with like precision, and then you go from there,
mhm.
or maybe control, and then you expand into control or whatever. Mad Bad Man, it's like reactive, maybe AOD as well. But basically, you start with a category and then you try to expand it from there. And I 100% believe that there is no like perfect way to do it. And I think you're all
Right.
right. There's just a cost and a benefit to all of them. Right. Like if you
I
start
believe
with
that as well.
reactive, you're just gonna have possibly like more shaky aim, if you like max out reactive and then you try to take those lessons into other, types of aim. But I think the real of actual important thing, just to get straight to the point, is that hasn't really been talked about is this is all behavioral. And what I mean by that is if you look at the categories of aim like you would a horoscope, things tend to make more sense, right? And rather than being born on a certain day, people with specific behaviors gravitate towards specific scenario types. And like Aimer Lou, my absolute nemesis, the fucking Bulbasaur, um, he I hate him, but he's brilliant. Um, he brilliantly he saw this observation that a lot of static people become celestials and then they transfer it to other categories. And his thinking was that your like he doesn't see a lot of tracking mains have like static celestial scores or like dynamic clicking celestial scores or like
Right. The
being
question is like, why do so if static players can transfer and go from celestial there to other categories, why do we not see it as
yeah.
often or with tracking players?
Exactly. And he posited that it had to do because like with inherently the category itself, I think he's like halfway right. I think a lot of it, like the other half is it's behavioral. Like people who are
Hmm,
static, they have the like who lean towards static and grind static, they have the patience to um they seem much more methodical, and like not rigid, but they just seem much more methodical, much more relaxed, and much calmer. And then they transfer those skills very methodically to other categories, right? You build, like, I think static players are very patient people, in my
yeah.
opinion, like the ones that I've talked to. But obviously, this is all anecdotal. There's like no way to prove this, right? This is just like my current way of thinking. I think the reason why you don't see a lot of tracking mains having static celestial scores is because they're just not interested in it. I think a lot of tracking mains enjoy and are addicted to the physical and auditory sensations of putting the dot on the bot. Like
1000% agree.
it's almost like a physical addiction to keeping the dot on the bot, the
Yeah.
reticle on the bot. And you don't get that feedback from static or dynamic as much, maybe a little bit of dynamic. because you're like chasing, not chasing the bots, but you're constantly moving, you know? But and then I think like there are two extremes, which is like tracking versus static, and then in between is like TS, people like Viscose who are pretty like reasonable people, right? But I think like if you watch anybody who's like a tracking main and they like only play tracking or the majority of the stuff is tracking, if you watch any of their in-game clips, like either LG Quake like 1v1s or like Apex tracking videos, the music that they play is like Russian techno hardcore shit or like hyper pop,
Yeah,
like things that are like really uh like are maxed out on auditory sensation. And I think that
right.
has a lot like those correlations. I don't know exactly how, but I think like those correlations can't be ignored.
Absolutely. I think there's so much of this conversation about behavior, kind of like we were talking about with like target switching being more like the chill, more like, just well-rounded. Like I will see the most insane speed TS run and it's just like there's a bubble pop hit sound and like some really chill music behind it. Like despite the insane pacing, like the music that the player is listening to, it's not screaming at the same intensity, and I think that there are just these feedback loops that we find, that kind of lend to a certain type of person, why they would choose a category.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's always like exceptions to the rule. You have like LG Quake 1v1ers like Peepo. He seems like pretty,
Shout out to GOAT.
yeah, I think he's like he seems like in terms of personality, he seems like a really
Mm,
chill person. But then you have people like Severe Overwatch from like TS. I've like heard his interview before, like when he was on the on Viscosa's podcast. Forgot what it's called.
mhm.
But he just seemed like a chill guy, and he started with I think controller, but like TS, right? Like quick scoping, which is like a lot of TS, like reading in TS. And um
Can I tell a cool story about Severe?
yeah, go ahead.
Severe so my favorite game of all time is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, 2011. On PlayStation 3 alone, I think I had, like, 7,000 hours, Xbox, similar amount, and then I've been playing it on PC up until this day. There was this guy in game that had the most insane snipes. Like he was a sniper player, like always hitting feeds, quick scoping. Went by the name of Rajira. I had no idea who this guy was. I just knew he was like a Kovacs main. This guy disappeared. He even had a tweet that was like, "Hey guys, I'm disappearing to get into Overwatch." Like 18 months later, I'm in one of Severe Overwatch's streams, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, you might be interested. I know you play Modern Warfare 3. I was Rajira." What
No
the heck?
way.
You Rajira? Yeah, this absolute legend who's been holding it down on Modern Warfare 3 for years. I've known him way before the AIM community. Um, he was always playing, but I actually did talk to him about how he felt like he learned technique. One of the things he mentioned was playing air voltaic, and that makes a lot of sense to me why like it would be a great scenario to learn technique from. It's because it's a gauntlet of bots that require various like blending,
Mhm.
but also like different adaptations to your tension, your management of tension throughout the gauntlet. So um, he I know like obviously he's very good at target switching as well, but um, yeah, just really cool dude.
Yeah, he started with TS and then it feels natural that he went to air. Like I know
Yeah.
our boy Seer is like a huge fan of air, you know,
Oh
and
yeah, especially Air
huge.
Pure.
Yeah, I've been on an air kick lately as well. That's like been super fun. Like Aim Beast Air, which is like insanely reactive. Anyways, that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. Like I'll just end the call here, and you and I can continue like talking, but I'll end the recording. But yeah, I think
Bye
like
YouTube.
uh behavior, and personality has a lot to do with it, and that's the theory. That's pretty much
Dude,
it.
that was awesome, man. I'm so
Peace.
glad